So, for those of you who are listening to this in the very distant future, it is currently March 24th. Is it the 24th today?
Yeah, it's the day before my birthday.
The day before your birthday. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. It's going to be fun spending it completely isolated in my house.
Well, I mean, you could do a lot of things with a socially distanced birthday party. There's self-pleasure options. There's mutual pleasure options. The cam girl industry, I'm sure, is booming right now because you can't go to
Man,
strip clubs.
I need to just become a cam girl at this point. You just make a lot of money. I mean, I'll sell my body for some money.
I mean, you definitely have buyers. Just make sure you
Thanks.
start with the tuxedo before that I saw the picture of from high school prom, and then gradually take that off.
We have the tuxedo and then we have the fur coat, pimp look.
Wow.
Yeah. I low-key thought about wearing the fur coat for this podcast.
You should. If I were a fur coat, I would take everything off besides the fur coat because it's actually kind of hot in my apartment right now because the sun is just beaming beautifully
But you look
just
good.
off the right side of my face.
It's very visually pleasing, your whole face and the sun.
I appreciate that. What was I going to say? So today, speaking of cam girl, I had the thought that this must have happened at least once where a cam girl that has another full-time job that's regularly going on Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and stuff like that. I'm sure she has the cam and the business cam going at the same time. And now that everything's work from home, all of her meetings, whether it's cam or business, they're all over Zoom or some sort of video conferencing. So has someone mixed up the two accidentally where a girl just goes on the business cam and just starts finger blasting herself to her boss and she's like, oh, fuck, my bad.
Look, statistically, it happens to at least one person a day. I mean, can you imagine? You just turn it on, you're like, oh, shit.
Especially now. There needs to be some sort of Zoom horror story data collection during this period. Like the funniest Zoom stories. There needs to be like a Reddit group started just for like Zoom fuck-ups for coronavirus pandemic. And
dude, that's actually a great
idea. And
idea.
you just send them in, like any sort of like video recording blips, like someone that just says something stupid or like an employee just ripping a bong on a business meeting, not realizing his camera's on, like just taking a fat hit in front of his boss.
Yeah, well, my roommate and I, we're both creators. We kind of screwed up the other day where we posted a video and there's like our bong in the background with weed and people are like, oh, you guys smoke? You guys do weed? And,
do weed?
We're both... you do the weed, We both want to keep quiet about that. It's not something we brag about, but at that point, especially my roommate did not want anybody to know, and he was just like, you know what, fuck it. Yeah, I smoke, what about it type of thing. It's thankfully it's not like a super big fuck up, like if I was in a massive business meeting.
Yeah.
Actually, I think if I was even in a business meeting, no one would care. At least for my creative field, who really cares? You're hiring a creator, you probably assume they're doing drugs, just to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, someone call it a job requirement. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable working with a creator had I known he'd not done drugs.
See, Mom, drugs are okay after all.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're also trying to pick up sponsorships with your content, and then you just nonchalant leave the bong in the back, just trying to send a signal to those CBD companies and those weed companies who I'm sure are popping off right now.
Look, I mean, as a creator, if someone ever actually makes a big deal about it, I can just say it was for entertainment. I can say it was just content. It's all fake. Even now, what I'm saying, it's it's all just a bit, You get kind of that little bit of a safety net.
Yeah, well, in the future, I can say that for podcasting. If anyone ever records me saying something stupid, which many people probably already have, I can go back and say, oh, actually, I thought I was on a podcast or I was recording for a podcast. So that part about wanting to spank Karen silly while she chokes me is just, it was pure creative flow. I was in the flow state. I was not actually speaking to her in the work office. It was not a work.
I mean, as someone who's like filmed you in the podcast a few times, I definitely have you saying a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah, you could definitely file a few complaints to HR. Auxoro HR.
Which is you.
Yeah, dude, that would be a hilarious video of you.
We should do that.
You filing a complaint, like a video of you recording a video for HR, and then you send it to me, and then you just pan to me watching the video, and I wear two different outfits. One's like normal me, and then I put on like my HR professional outfit and call you into my office to review the video. I'm just like, this Zach guy sounds like an absolute sicko. And
Dude, we should do that. That'd be a fun skit.
You should not work for this guy. It sounds like all the stuff he's done, like, he's not paying you nearly enough money to do some of this shit.
I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Pay me more, Zach.
Yeah, as HR Zach, I definitely think Auxoro Zach is a absolute monster.
What a dick.
So, something that I wanted to get into, and something that's super relevant for right now for the whole coronavirus pandemic, is the effect that it's having on creators.
Yeah.
And I have friends like yourself, and also I know a few baseball players that are in the minor leagues that, you know, their season's being postponed, not sure if they're going to get paid or not. What has it been like for you as a working videographer with the current climate, with everything being shut down?
I mean, for me personally, I think everybody's hurting, and pretty much all creators are hurting. And for me personally, like 80% of my income was through capturing events, like music festivals, concerts, like dinner parties, weddings. And I basically watched in the span of like a week, my whole, like all of my income just going away. You're getting texts and calls like every 30 minutes, every hour, just being like, hey, this is canceled now, this is canceled now. And stuff I was really looking forward to, like I was supposed to go film at Coachella, Electric Forest, Lollapalooza, and those have either been completely canceled or they're just like up in the air, like pretty much like we're probably going to cancel it. So it's been rough. It's been interesting. I mean, again, you're watching your livelihood just kind of go out the window, but I didn't become a full-time freelancer because I knew it was going to be easy, and like these are just like challenges that you have to overcome. And so I'm just trying to look at it on the bright side of like, hey, I know I'm going to get through this. I've overcome challenges and struggles before. This is just another obstacle. Like, how can I overcome this? How can I pivot to something else to get income for a little bit? Because I mean, I was relying on these events to carry me over into the summer financially. So all of my money was banked on just a handful of events, and literally in a week, I lost, thousands of dollars of that I was supposed to have. So, yeah, it's been rough. It's been interesting.
Yeah. So with that shift in the money being taken away and not being able to rely on those summer dollars, what are some of the things that you're doing right now or setting up to do right now to offset some of that financial loss?
Right now, I'm just trying to get editing gigs for wedding companies who just have a backlog. And as someone who owns a wedding company as well, like there's always a backlog. And so I know that these people need help. That's an avenue that I'm exploring. And then I'm also trying to get more into like product photography and videography. One of my friends, Erin, who's a stylist, she called me up the other day. She was like, hey, our videographer dropped out for the shoot. We need you. I hopped on that and I was like, wow, this is actually a lot of fun. It's really cool. The pay is pretty nice for essentially what I'm doing. I was like, I could really use this as kind of a pivot. Something I've never really done before, but it's a whole nother option. So now I'm re-messaging all these other brands and companies that I've worked with in the past saying, hey, let me do some product videos, some product videography. And I mean, it's rocky. It's a rocky situation for everybody, but you know, some of these brands are able to afford it. Some of them can't. It's I don't know. It feels like I'm always taking like one step forward and one step back right now. Where like some things are working, some things aren't. And it's just kind of trying to find that footing to find security, if that's even possible right now.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of creators are in the same boat right now, especially people like you who do a lot of events like weddings and concerts and things like that. And on the other side too, the people that are putting on these events, like the concerts and the weddings, it's weird because they want to. It's not like there's not a market for it. Those people want it to continue to happen. It's outside policy coming in for the good of people not getting sick and preventing the spread of this virus. And nothing like that in our lifetime has ever happened before, at least in the United States. Like one virus has put the entire community on some sort of lockdown, whether you have a paycheck right now, whether you are independent creator, whether you're a frontline healthcare worker, whether you are the accountant, whatever it is. Some people are affected in more ways than others, but there's no one out there who hasn't been affected by this, which is crazy.
Yeah, man, it's just fascinating to watch. Like that's the word I keep using, because ultimately I'm a firm believer that everything's going to be okay. Like we're all going to get through this. Sadly, there are people who are going to be definitely more affected by it than others, but in terms of a species, a community, and for most people as individuals, we're all going to be okay. And so to me, it's just kind of fascinating to watch the entire world just starting, I wouldn't say crumble, but just the world is stopping right now, in terms of like all development is kind of halting, and we're all just kind of waiting this out for the sake of everybody else. And yeah, I don't know. It's like you're saying, we've never experienced something like this before. So I'm just so intrigued as to what's going to happen, what's going to be, written down in history 20 years from now, or looking back at this with my grandkids and being like, oh, I remember like, during this time, like this and this happened, or, I think social media is gonna really change, and it's been changing. You're starting to see a lot of people challenge each other, doing fitness challenges on like Instagram. That's becoming huge now. So that may lead to an inevitable like boost in health and wellness as we get out of this. I think a lot more people are posting more podcasts, more videos. They're starting to dive into social media more because there's not really anything else to do. So I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting effects that are going to come out of this that we're not going to really be able to understand until like probably 10 years down the line. But I think it's definitely going to be noticeable. And my roommate and I were just talking about like, how easy is it going to be for us to go back to living in a normal society, or back to the way things were? I think it's going to be fairly easy, but we also don't really know how long this is going to last. Like this could last a few months. This could last the rest of the year. And I mean, like, are people going to start rioting eventually? Like, I'm honestly surprised there hasn't been massive riots yet. And granted, it hasn't gotten like that bad, but I feel like we are getting to that point where
socially distanced riots. You can go crazy, but stay 6 feet back from the closest person. So you don't further the spread of the virus. But no, that's a good point. I want to go back through a few of the things that you mentioned, but the first one, social media. Social media has been interesting for me to watch the fallout of, I think, the increased connection. What I've been seeing, people finding new ways to use social media to connect on a more human level and help other people. Because one of the biggest criticisms of social media is that it doesn't do what it says it does. It doesn't make people more social. It gives people a platform to go on and they end up sharing things about their life and kind of comparing themselves to other people, but they're not actually socially engaging in a meaningful way with other
Yeah.
people. And there's definitely two sides to social media where you can make a genuine connection with people. I've made some of the best connections of my life just over like a DM that led to a greater relationship. But then you also have the side where people are on social media to have like a sort of social, a surface level interaction and kind of like feign a connection, but they're not actually connecting. And so you have a system that was set up to make people more connected that on many levels did not connect people and even spread people apart. And now this virus has come in, and I think people are using social media in a way that it was meant to be used much more, or even if it wasn't meant to be used that way, like in a much more healthy, helpful way for other people. Like basically saying like, I'm able to go out and get groceries, like who needs help, or like posting in these forums and saying, um, like here's a job for a content creator, or here's someone that's working on this, like looking to connect people. I don't think I've ever seen social media focus so much on that human connection until now, and it like took some dude eating a bat in China to bring us to this point.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I agree. I totally agree with you. As someone who like, for my job, I have to use social media. I honestly don't like it for that very reason you're saying. If like, it's not really a human connection thing. It's more of a marketing tool, which is great. I love it as a marketing tool, but not as a social interaction type of thing. But yeah, you're starting to see more, I guess, healthier like applications of social media that people are starting to adopt, because we're there. I think it's because there's a shared sense of struggle, and I think that's struggle makes people bond together. I mean, like if you go through something with somebody, you guys are going to always remember that, and you'll be there for each other later down the line. And I think that's kind of what we're starting to see now, is people starting to band together. Everyone understands the situation. Everyone understands what the other person is going through, or at least to an extent of like, oh, you lost your job, or oh, you need this, you can't go out for this. So it's really cool to start seeing people starting to help each other, because that's how it should be. We should be doing this all the time, which is it's frustrating. And I say that as a person who also doesn't do that all the time. But I think it's going to be cool to see that. Hopefully the long-term effects of that, and I hope that carries over even once we get out of this, that there's still kind of a sense of community online that you can go to and rely on. But we'll see what happens.
I hope it continues too. You reminded me of a book that I just finished called Coddling of the American Mind. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it goes into a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy and the reasons how people formulate stories in their head, and also the current climate on college campuses with the whole cancel culture and people not being able to talk and things like that. And in the book, he mentions this common humanity versus common identity dichotomy, where if you are facing an enemy, and say in this case the enemy is coronavirus, you can look at that in one of two ways. You can say, okay, this is something that's going to hurt us, that's going to affect us all in different ways, but use it as like this common bridge, the common human connector, to say, okay, even though we're going to be damaged, what can I do to help other people? And you see it as someone who connects you. And then you have the common enemy, where you say, okay, this person is against me, so it's almost like this tribalistic instinct where you divide amongst groups, and you're united by your hatred for another person or another group, or just something in general. So I think a big reason why the coronavirus is uniting instead of dividing is because it's affecting all of us. It's not affecting one group worse than another group. It's affecting different groups at different times as it's spread across the globe, but everyone has been affected by it in some way. So it's not a discriminatory thing where you can say like, okay, I'm gonna put this over here, and that person can worry about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've seen that through history so much where, like, you know, as Americans, we're an incredibly diverse country. We're a massive country with a bunch of different views and races and ideologies and all this stuff. But, and we like to bicker a lot with each other. I mean, especially I think now more than ever with the political climate, it's a lot of bickering. But when we have a national emergency, say like the thing that comes to mind to me, at least in my recent memory, was like the Boston Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Like when that happened, the entire country stopped fighting for a minute, and we were like, we need to be here for each other. We need to help these people out, and we did what we needed to do. The second that was over, though, we just go back to bickering and fighting. But basically, when shit hits the fan, we all come together, which is good. At least for the most part, we all come together. You're always going to have outliers here and there, but yeah, I do think there's going to be good that comes out of this. I do think it's going to unify people a lot more. Regardless, I think friendships are going to strengthen, even when you're just looking at the small level of effects. Like, people are talking to each other more. We're FaceTiming each other more. We're communicating. And so I think a lot of people are just catching up with old friends and just kind of bonding on a small level, but also communities are getting to the point where they're starting to come together. Especially like back in my hometown, you know, it's a very small country town, but the younger people are offering to go to the stores for the older people and bring it to their doorstep and leave. And I think that's so cool. Like when else would they have ever thought to do that or even cared to do that?
Yeah.
And now we're at that point where we're starting to help each other. So I think that's really cool in the midst of this kind of really confusing time.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that really until yesterday when I saw other people posting similar things. The offering to go get groceries for people in your building, because I'd been so caught up in, oh, like I'm gonna have to go to Trader Joe's and you have to wait online because they're keeping people outside and you can only have whatever 30 people in the store at a time. So I'm like, fuck, it's gonna take me 2 hours to go shopping. But then you have people that don't have nursing aides or something. You have maybe older people who just can't wait out in 40-degree weather for 3 hours that don't qualify for certain home care that may need shit dropped off to them, whether it's toiletries or food or something like that. So I actually made a note yesterday that I need to like put something out on the building board. There's an online forum for the building just to say like if anyone needs shit, let me know. I feel like that would be something good to do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool that your building does that, by the way.
Yeah, there's a message forum. I don't know if it's still being monitored right now because I know the messages have to be approved. But if not, I have no excuse not to do it. I could just also leave a sign downstairs or something if the message doesn't go through. But yeah, I mean there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of cool shit right now like that. I heard the other day about this local moms Facebook group, and I think a bunch of groups have been created around the country for just moms that are taking care of young kids. So if they say, someone will post in the group, I'm at so-and-so address and I need diapers, it'll just show up at their door from another mom or someone who's in the group 2 hours later.
That's awesome.
And it's just become like this self-service help thing with Facebook groups.
That's awesome, man.
Something else you mentioned is the remote working, the whole culture of people. All businesses are having to tell people like you're either not going to come to the office as much or you're going to work from home if most non-essential workers. So
yeah,
we're basically doing a huge experiment of remote working, the entire planet right now. And then once this whole period is over, there's going to be so much data on productivity and like, are people actually more productive at home? Are they better in the office? What type of shit got done? What industries is work from home better than others? So I was just thinking like the whole globe is running this experiment right now. And when we come up for air eventually, I bet there's going to be some pretty cool analysis on did this actually, like, what are we missing from work from home that we didn't see before? Like, can we utilize more work from home than we are right now at the current moment?
Well, as someone like through my job, I basically work at home all the time. I'm either traveling and working or I'm working at home. So, as someone who's been doing this for a few years, there's definitely a lot of downsides to it that I would prefer to have an actual office. As someone who works at home like every single day,
Yeah, me too.
it's nice. It's nice to just be in a dedicated space that you're like, this is the space that I work. Like where I'm sitting right now is where I spend 80% of my life. It's
80%?
just in this room. Dude,
That's been me. That's been me since I started working from home, and I feel like I've been going a little bit crazy just in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. Dude, my roommate and I, to have fun, threw slices of bread like a frisbee at each other. I mean, we're going nuts.
How did you throw them? Was it like a frisbee? Did you ball them up? How?
No. Like, listen to this. A slice of bread is like the perfect indoor frisbee.
Really?
It flies surprisingly well and like smooth if you know how to throw a frisbee.
So it's aerodynamic.
Very, very aerodynamic. I mean, who would have guessed? But, once it starts getting a little mushed up, then we rolled into balls and we're throwing it at each other like a dodgeball.
Oh, yeah. You could play a lot of games with bread.
With a slice of bread.
Yeah, because you throw it in a frisbee, and then when it gets too mushed, like you said, you could just morph it right into another game. See,
this is where creativity comes.
Yeah, you take one slice of bread as the ball, you roll another one up like a stick, and then you just go to town. Bread ball.
I don't know how to respond to that. Bread ball.
Bread ball. Bread ball.
But going back real quick to working at home, I do think a lot of businesses are starting to become more relaxed about just like the workplace in general. Like, I think more modern businesses are starting to adopt the kind of mentality of like, get your work done, and as long as it's done, you can do whatever you want after that. Which I think is how work should be. Like, you don't have to be at work 9 to 5 to get your job done for the day. If you're really focused, you may be able to get it done in 3-4 hours. And if your job's done, then that's all you need to do. Like, go home,
Yeah, I think there's this a certain type of person that's built for the self-management schedule where you can just work from home. And I can see the benefits of being in the office where you are, and I'm the same way as you. Like, even if I was able to work from home and I'm working for myself, or I just have a remote job, I would still want to go into some sort of office or coffee shop or some type of WeWork space, because I feel like when I'm doing work in my apartment, my body is so used to just shutting down in my apartment when I get home at the end of the day that it almost puts me in that mental mode. Like, I'm near my couch and my body just wants to, I just want to fucking lie down on my couch, or I'm at doing work at the kitchen table and I just want to eat, or just like I've ingrained so many habits already in the spaces in my apartment that now that I'm doing work in them, it feels like it takes me longer to kind of rev up into that work mode.
Yeah, there's so many distractions. Like, in my room, this is where I edit right here. I've got my bed, I've got my PlayStation, I've got my computer. Like, it's so easy to be editing, hit a very small roadblock and just be like, you know what, I'm just going to play video games for a minute. And then that turns into 2 hours, and then you're like, oh shit, I haven't even worked on this yet. When really I could have just spent 3 minutes and overcome that little obstacle, but it's easier for me to just switch to something else. And
like camming?
Like becoming a webcam girl, man.
That would be such a seamless transition. You get bored of
just
editing.
Just take the shirt off.
Yeah, dude, you get bored of editing, and then bam, you just press the button on your webcam, turn it on for 15 minutes. You just let people watch you, or even while you're editing. Dude, people
make $100.
People would probably pay to see you edit naked. And I'm saying that for myself and other people. I just listened to a podcast where this girl got paid by guys to piss in a container and sent it to them and shit. Like she had a guy send her thousands of dollars to shit a log and send it to her, or send it to him. Send it to him.
Yeah.
And she does that for a living. She has a website where she posts videos behind a paywall, and she has clients that she's never seen, never spoke to, that send her messages and say, I'll give you $500 to piss in a container and send it to me, or do whatever, make a personal video. So it sounds pretty lucrative.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you're basically, your job is to just be hot and sexy, and if you can pull that off, why not make a bunch of money off of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like,
I mean,
it's like advertising. Like, don't give free plugs. People got to pay for the plugs. So why give free body? You know, why give free looks?
Yeah, this is my advertisement right here.
Yeah, I've already gotten 33 minutes and 24 seconds of free bod.
Hell yeah. Doing a little dance for all you audio listeners.
I say at the 1 hour mark we put pants on.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I need to put underwear on too.
No, just pants. Commando.
I'll make it sweatpants.
That's the way to go.
I can't do jeans commando. It's too rough.
Oh, no. You want me to? I guess I'll tell you a story that you just reminded me of.
Please do.
So speaking of the jeans versus commando, so I used to date a girl that was long distance. I think we've spoken about this girl before. Last relationship I was in a few years ago, and every time I would see her, I would pick her up at the airport back in Richmond when I was still going to school because I was a senior. And one of those times, she asked, would you like some Roadhead? And I was wearing jeans when I picked her up. And so I said, yeah, sure. And I'd never gotten any Roadhead before. But then I did the hard part. The hardest part was getting my jeans unbuttoned, the zippers slid down, and like pulling them down a little bit while I was driving. And so that happened. And then every time after I picked her up at the airport, I wore sweatpants and put my seat back a little bit just to be ready for the encounter. So she's probably like, why is this dude showing up with his sweatpants around his ankles with the seat turned back to 180 degrees? I can't even see someone picking me up in the car. And then I open the door and he's just laid back like a lazy boy chair with his sweatpants around his ankles.
How is it? Were you driving while she was doing it, or did you like pull off somewhere?
No, I was driving.
How do you how do you manage?
I've been thinking about this now that I've been spending so much time with my own thoughts. So the way I would describe it is like this. You know how in driver's ed where they teach you the 10 and 2?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
After you learn that, you never use it again. The only time I've ever driven with my hands 10 and 2 on the wheel is when there was a guy for driver's ed in the car next to me, and I'm trying to pass the test, which I did barely. I fucked up the parallel park, but I got it the second time. So that time, the first time she gave me head while I was driving, I was going probably about 60 in the middle lane. This is I-64 outside of Richmond. I immediately put my hands 10 and 2 on the wheel, and I pulled over to the right lane and started going about 40. And that was the first time since driver's ed that I had ever driven with my hands 10 and 2. So
hey, back to basics.
That's what driver's ed is for. It's they should really, to make it a good test, they should really have some girl in the passenger seat just doming you up while you're driving. Make it, because like if you could check your mirrors and parallel park,
if you could concentrate on driving while this is happening, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also makes you last longer in a way because I'm focusing on the road, and at the same time I have this great feeling happening in my pants. And normally I'm just like, I'm lying on the bed and I'm fully focused on what's going on down there, but now I have this whole other view brought into my brain where I'm keeping track of one and feeling another. So I feel like it made me last longer. So maybe I'll start like pretending I'm driving now when I'm getting head, just so I can last longer. And maybe have like one of those video game steering wheels, like just set up on my bed.
I think that's what you should do.
Exactly. But yeah, that's. I don't remember how we got on this tangent, but.
But
You mentioned
we
wearing
did.
jeans. I said you don't wear pants, and you mentioned you were going to wear jeans.
I don't want to wear jeans.
You don't want to wear jeans, yeah.
Correct.
So speaking of getting your dick sucked in a car, didn't you almost die in a car crash? Seamless transition.
Yeah. Seamless, man. It's totally seamless. Yeah, this is kind of a crazy story. So I was around, I was about 11, I think. And my mom and I were going to drop off the trash. We lived in a small country town, and you had to actually like drive out to a dump to take out the trash. And so
This isn't a roadhead story, is it?
no. But yeah, so my mom's driving. I'm playing on my Game Boy in the back of the car. I was in the back passenger seat. And what's nuts
Pokemon?
is I was playing Pokemon, actually. Loved Pokemon.
I was a huge
but
Pokemon guy.
it was so strange because we were driving and my mom just goes, Noah. She calls me Noah. She's like, Noah, sit behind me. And I was like, what? It's completely the other side of the car. My mom's a very like safe person. It's always like, wear your seatbelt, never take it off while the car's moving. And she's just like, sit behind me right now. And I was like, okay. Move over to her side of the seat. Like within 5 seconds of me clicking the seatbelt behind her, we go around this turn, and the car skids on gravel on this turn and flips over a hill.
Jesus.
And the car just rolls all the way down the hill. And I remember it was literally like slow motion. The whole world is just like slowly spinning. My mom's screaming. I don't know what's going on.
And you didn't have your seatbelt on before that?
I did, but I moved from the right side of the car to the left.
Gotcha, okay.
We landed upside down. And when I looked over to the right, where I was just sitting, the entire roof was crushed down to the seat.
Oh my God. So you'd have been dead.
And I would have been literally smushed. Like my body would have just been completely destroyed. And, I don't know if you believe in God or higher power or whatever, but, my mom said that something just told her for me to move over to this side. And so, we're upside down, and the seatbelt slit my throat from the impact.
Oh,
so
shit.
my throat's just like
Bleeding,
gushing
yeah.
blood. My mom, the windshield broke, and my mom had over 200 pieces of glass in her that the hospital had to remove. And she was, so just like banged up and confused. And it's such a disorienting thing to be in a car upside down. But, thankfully we're in a nice Honda Civic, good safety ratings, like seatbelt was fine. And so you're just completely upside down. Sorry, the memory is just kind of like coming back. I haven't thought about this for a while.
No, you're good.
I remember unbuckling myself. I fall to the ground, and there's just glass everywhere. And we crawl out of the vehicle, and right as we're crawling out, this like a caravan of cars is coming by, and one of them just happens to be a paramedic, and so they were, obviously everyone stops to check on us, and we were able to get to the hospital. My back is permanently damaged from the car accident. It's almost like I kind of got scoliosis or something, where my spine is just kind of fucked up in the middle.
Your spine is curved a little bit still?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my left shoulder naturally wants to dip down a little bit. So every so often I have to naturally kind of like re-correct myself. And my mom, she already had back injuries from another car accident actually, and that just kind of enhanced that. But for the most part, we're both okay now.
Yeah, thank God you're okay.
Yeah, and that was just a crazy time. It took a while to feel safe being back in a car again.
Yeah, I
Uh,
bet. Like, I've never been in a really bad car accident. I've been in a few fender benders and maybe one that went beyond that, but I've never been in something where I thought I was gonna die possibly, or almost did die. So I can imagine just being back in the area and having those triggers around you, even years later. Like you said, you haven't really talked about it that much. Like, can bring up some bad memories, some bad feelings,
yeah,
like PTSD
it
almost,
took
I
us.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, it took us both a while to feel comfortable enough to drive back on that same road. It probably took about 3 months, and my mom was like, "Are you ready to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah," and we both just went along that
Mm-hmm.
road as, she's a great mom. It's just as a way to like conquer our fear of it,
Mm-hmm. Where was this road
Uh,
again?
This was in my hometown, so it was basically just like way off. I lived in the middle of the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
so the road was just kind of like up a ways in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains where everyone just kind of dumped their trash.
What state was this?
This is
This is
Virginia.
Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in Withville, Virginia, a small town in the
Withville.
southwest.
Is that by Martinsville at all? Do you know Martinsville, Virginia? I played baseball there one summer.
Uh,
I know it's southwest on the border, right on the border of North Carolina, because I got pulled over one time for drugs, but I didn't have drugs on me, but the cops thought I did, and it was in
uh,
Martinsville, Virginia.
it's it's definitely more southwest than, or more, I guess, west than
Okay,
Martinsville. I would say Martinsville is probably about an hour
gotcha.
and a half away.
But yeah, man, that's
Um,
crazy. Like, just imagining the adrenaline in the moment must have been insane, because I know people say from really bad car accidents their body kind of protects them, where the adrenaline just surges immediately, and you don't
mhm.
really feel the emotional and physical damage right away, and then once your body goes out of shock, then you start to notice things that are off if you
Oh
have an
yeah.
injury or something like that. Is that what it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, when we stopped, I really didn't feel anything. Like the probably the adrenaline, and then also the airbags and everything did a great job. And I didn't even realize my throat was slit yet until we crawled out of the car and we looked at each other. And my mom was like, "Oh my God!" And once she started saying that, once it brought it to attention, I started feeling like the heat of the
Mm-hmm.
cut.
You're
But I
11, you
still,
said?
yeah,
So you're just a savage 11-year-old just walking around with your throat slit, just not even
yeah.
feeling it.
Good stuff,
Yeah.
man. I was a badass even back then. But yeah, I mean, even still, I just felt the heat. I didn't really feel the actual like cut itself. Like it didn't sting. I just remember my neck feeling it super hot. Um, yeah, that was just kind of crazy. I don't really remember the experience of getting to the hospital, or even like I remember for whatever reason they put me and my mom in separate rooms, which I really didn't like. I was like, I want to be in the same room as my mom, and
Mm-hmm.
they said no. So they wanted me to stay lying down because of my back, but I asked if I could use the bathroom, and I left. I snuck off to go find my mom. Um, and then I found her, and eventually they let us stay in the same room. But we had to stay in the hospital, I think, for like 2 days,
Jeez,
just to like recover.
that's fucking
Yeah.
wild. After the whole after you kind of had some space from the accident, what kind of conversations did you have with your mom after that? Do you remember, like, what she
No,
said to you?
I honestly can't remember. Just the only thing that sticks out was, we both wanted to overcome the fear we had of driving in a car, um, or, being in a car. And I just remember we talked about that a few times. And, eventually, like I said, we went back on the same road, which was a very hard thing to do. I mean, we were
Mm-hmm.
going like 30 miles an hour just slowly on that road. And even though we knew it was going to be okay, it's just so freaky to be back there. But yeah, I don't really remember any of the other conversations that we had. It was too long ago.
Yeah, just yeah, that is a while ago, and just going back to ground zero, that could be pretty freaky and scary at the same time. I imagine, like, if the last time you were, the last time you were in that spot, literally, you almost died, and then the next time you go back there, that
Yeah.
must bring up some fucking crazy shit in your head, just like absurd feelings.
It's overwhelming
Yeah.
for sure. Definitely very overwhelming. But, you know, we conquered it. We were fine. We honestly never went down that road again after we went back to it. We found a different dump because we were like, you know what, let's just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's good, even if you don't go back, that you revisit it. You revisited it that first time.
Yeah, I agree.
Because even in that book I was reading, The Coddling of the American Mind, it does go into some stuff about cognitive behavioral therapy and things that people should do when they do have PTSD. And one of the things that, not that you had PTSD, but just like people that are exposed to these types of triggers, that one of the things that's good for you to do is to re-expose yourself to those triggers when you're ready. So then your brain starts to make the connection of, okay, I can go through this, and then when I go through this and I'm fine after, then I'm basically like building a log of experiences where I'm okay having been through that. So it's not just the last time you were there, you almost died. Then it's like, okay, well, now I've been there another time and I was fine. Whether it's a car accident or, you know, something else traumatic, that's definitely, I could definitely see the benefit of that.
Yeah, it's a very good point, and that reminds me of a documentary that I worked on, where is basically this incredible guy, Deontay Diggs. I can get into his story if you want, but long story short, we were revisiting a lot of places in his past that he was sexually assaulted or physically abused, and you know, it immediately, you could tell, it was so hard on him. But after he talked about it and went through it, and after we left that space, you know, he told me that how hard it was, but he also said it was very therapeutic for him to revisit these places that he had literally hadn't been to since those incidents, and that it really helped him understand that he wasn't over some things, that he was over some things, and just kind of helped put more of an adult perspective to something that happened to him as a child. So yeah, I definitely think it can help, but you know, it is it's one of those things you kind of just have to force yourself to do to overcome it. But you shouldn't live in fear. Like, fear can be overcome.
And the fear of the fear, I feel like, is sometimes greater than the actual fear itself, if that makes sense. Like, you're afraid to even face it, and then as a result of that, you don't even put yourself in that situation.
Well, I think a major problem with how just kind of the human mind works is, you know, we're granted the ability to create false realities in anticipation of what's actually going to happen. And I think what you're saying with, like, you fear the fear of something that may not even happen. You start bringing all these false, untrue hypotheticals into the situation that you start freaking out about, that you start really concerning yourself with, when it's probably not even going to happen, to be honest. I mean, what are the likelihood that these, you know, 15 horrible events you just came up with are all going to happen when you do this one thing or whatever? It's hard to really turn that off. You kind of have to examine yourself and kind of evaluate, why am I thinking this? Is this on a statistical level actually going to happen? And most of the time it's no. But your mind is going to naturally go to that worst case scenario as kind of a survival tactic, I think.
Yeah, that's why I love meditation so much, and I talk about it a lot on the podcast. Is that's one of the reasons, is that before I started meditation, I didn't realize how many stories that I told myself just on a daily basis, like things that would pop up in my thoughts that I just took as true, that I didn't realize it was just a story I was telling myself, and there was no actually evidence to suggest that. Like, for example, if a girl doesn't text me back or something, then I would maybe think, oh, like I said something dumb when I was with her, or, you know, she doesn't think I'm attractive, or, you know, she's banging my best friend, whatever. Like, it's just like something that your mind goes to, it latches on to the worst case scenario, and then the more you revisit that story, the worse and worse it feels. And then when you actually sit down on a pillow for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is, and then those thoughts just kind of pool into your mind, and you start noticing them instead of just following them. Like, you notice the thought of, okay, I just assume that this girl doesn't think I'm attractive. What evidence do I have for that? And then you realize that there's none. It's kind of out of your control. You don't know why she didn't text you back, and so you can create a story to fit that perspective, or you can just say, fuck it, I have no idea why, and just leave it at that and go living your life. So I didn't start to notice just how many little things I would tell myself, and I still get caught up in it all the time. Like, it's so hard not to. It's not like meditation is this magic pill that just automatically makes you super wise or whatever, because I'm still dumb as fuck in a lot of ways, but I at least have some clearer insight into that storytelling ability of my own mind, like just running in the background at all times, kind of like spinning on this wheel. Like, if your brain has the chance to insert a story, it will, to kind of like make up for the evidence that you don't see, or that's just not there.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's interesting. I used to get caught up in that a lot. Just like creating these false stories in my head, and that, like, I mean, it really made me depressed for a while, and I still catch myself doing it, especially when it comes to girls. Like, I think that example you said is perfect. Like, if I don't hear back from a girl in a few hours or the day, I'm like, oh, like, I start reading back all the text messages. What did I say wrong? Like, was this the point that, like, kind of turned her off? Like, does she just not want to talk to me? Is it because I'm a bad person or whatever? And it's hard to train yourself to notice that, and to be like, and to push it aside. It's something that I'm still working on in myself, but I see that in a lot of people, especially some people that are close to me. They start creating the immediate negative reality when, you know, sometimes that girl's just busy, or she's working, or she's hanging out with friends, and she just doesn't have time to message you back, and, you know. And then it always feels good if they actually do message you back, and then all of those thoughts you had are immediately gone, and you're just like, oh, yay, I got a message.
Which now I also don't like, because I get that feeling too. Like, if someone doesn't text me back for 2 days, and I kind of write it off as, okay, she's never going to text me back, and then she does, and then I feel better, then I think to myself, well, if she didn't text me back, would I still be feeling like shit? And then I think, what a sad excuse, what a sad way to live, that my happiness was hinging on something out of my control, like a text message. So it does kind of bother me sometimes when I get a text. I don't know if bother me is the right word. I guess I just pay attention to it more now, where I get a text and I notice an elevation in my mood, and then I'm like, well, why am I happier now? Like, because she texts me back, or like, what is making me happy?
I mean, I think to some extent it's because we all want to feel wanted and loved and valued, and when you get a message from somebody that's saying that, like, hey, this person thought about you and wants to spend their time to talk to you and communicate with you, and I think that's always just going to feel nice to some degree, you know, especially if it's someone you're also interested in, because then you're like, oh, this person that I likes me or whatever. And at the end of the day, we all like validation and just attention. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. But
yeah, there's so many games that people play with each other over text.
Oh, dude. Oh,
the human nature of texting is so fucking sick. And I do so much shit over text. Sometimes I don't even realize that I'm playing games with someone. It's just so ingrained in my mind where I say, okay, I just got this text. I can't respond for this much time, or, you know, I can't send this many texts in a row, or I'm at this stage in a relationship with her, so I can't share this yet. So I'm going to make her think that I don't care when I actually want to say this, but I say something else. Like all this shit that people do over text that's like not actually what they want to do, but they're following this societal framework to do what they think other people view as normal.
Yeah, it's at one point I said, you know, fuck the games. I'm not going to play games. I'm going to be 100% open and honest. And then I started to realize that there's a reason there are these kind of games in place, is because, like, I mean, a lot of people really aren't prepared for just honesty, or, you know, it comes off as being too forward when I'm just saying, like, hey, this is how I feel about the situation or whatever. And so having those games adds that kind of like mystery and allure that keeps people coming back. And
yeah, like when the first ever text message that you sent me was just from the nipples down, completely naked, I was like, okay, I know what this dude's about. He's not trying to hide anything. Just
exactly.
nipples down shot right away. So that must have been a stage.
You know, I tried that tactic with like 20 other people, and you were the only one who responded. So
yeah, I was like, yeah, dude, I'm down. Like, come over right now. Like, I'm ready to go. And then you came over with some cameras, and we've been working together ever since.
The true love story right there.
Yeah, the real footage has yet to be released. Maybe one day.
Behind the scenes.
What the fuck were we talking? Oh, text messaging. I was gonna say sometimes, going back to the stories with talking to girls, I think sometimes you're right. It is good to have somewhat of a guard up and follow somewhat of the societal norms, because I think that also lets people know that you're normal and you're sane a lot. Like sometimes if the first text I got from someone, or like really early on, is just like this open, like just outpouring of feelings and just zero hiding, like just everything's out in the open, sometimes that freaks me out, and I could see how that could freak other people out too, because it's like way too much right away. I think it's good to gradually unfurl yourself, like and
like an onion.
Yeah, like I think there's a difference between gradually letting people in and playing games. I think playing games is different than gradually letting people in. I think playing games is giving off a different intent than what you actually have. I think gradually showing yourself is more like, yeah, my intent is that I like you and I want to hang out with you, but I'm also just not going to completely trust you right off the bat. Like that has to be mutually earned. That's going to happen over time.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think, well, the definition on games thing, I don't know. Like this girl that I'm talking to right now, like, oh, it's so frustrating. But we're playing games with each other, but it's like, as frustrating as it is, it's kind of like our thing. Like it's kind of fun to like really just kind of mess with each other, and it's 100% incredibly toxic. But
what are some of the games that you guys are playing right now?
Well, right now it's like, basically she was like, all right, now you're gonna have to wait to see me. We're like, I'm gonna make you like, and this was before Corona shut everything down. But you know, she likes to tease a lot and whatnot, so it's just kind of like going back and forth on the teasing and saying, how do I put this? I don't want to give like too much away, because I don't like talking about relationship stuff online.
Yeah, dude, that's I understand. No intimate personal details or names. We'll put that on the behind the subscriber wall for Patreon.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's not good to share like too much stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds like some of that stuff can be sexy almost, like in a hot,
Yeah,
like
it
attractive
is.
way. Like it's not so much as like a game as more of like maybe like it's almost like a sexting tactic, almost like you're playing on
Yeah.
the horniness. And she's telling you you're gonna have to wait. She's not texting you, yeah, we'll hang out tonight, and then ghost you, or you know, is is not committed to her word. She's telling you like, listen, because of how you behaved, I'm gonna make you wait.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's
like she's
definitely
being
more of like
straight
a
up.
yeah, but
You've been a
yeah,
bad boy, Manoa.
I
You're
mean,
gonna
hey.
have to wait a little bit before you gain access to me again. I like this girl.
Yeah, she's interesting. But moving on.
Yeah. Okay. What did I want to? Oh, I just wanted to say before we get off the games. Sometimes I'll even have conversations in my head before I have a conversation with someone else, especially with women when I'm in a bar. Not only after the fact do I tell myself stories and have to stop myself, but before I even walk up to someone, sometimes my brain will kind of kick into gear and be like, she doesn't want to talk to you, or you're going to say hi and she's going to say this and you're going to say that, and then it's not going to happen, so don't even go up to her in the first place. And I kind of have to like slap myself out of it and be like, no, stop telling yourself stories, double fist those double vodka sodas, chug one so you don't look like an alcoholic when you walk over there, and then just go say, what's up? Just ask a genuine question.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised how well things go when you actually try. Like, the problem is just people don't typically try, or they try and they fail, and then they say, okay, I failed, so I'm always going to fail, and I'm never going to do that again. When, like, we all fail, and that's just kind of the learning experience. Especially, I think New York kind of taught me that in terms of relationships. We're like, oh, if something doesn't work out, there's literally 4 million other women out there. So like you can try different things, and sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. That's just how it goes. A lot of people just kind of feel like give up on the first go around or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can ever go wrong with a genuine question. Like if you see a girl's wearing something, that's the hard part. You're going off of exterior, because if you're approaching a stranger, you don't know anything about them, really. You know that you're in the same place. You know that the night brought you here. You know what they're wearing. You know what they're drinking. But you don't know what they do or what type of person they are. So I like a genuine inquiry into something exterior, I think, is usually how I go. Like if I say, you know, oh, you're the only one that's wearing flats in this bar right now, or like we're both drinking the same thing, like just like some genuine question that probably comes from podcasting, like my podcasting instinct to actually ask a question. I feel like I don't need as much of a script where I can just ask something that's not a yes or no, because then you're back on the spot 2 seconds later. Like ask a question that starts with what or how, and then let her answer, and then you listen and then say something again off that. So like the conversation can never run out. It's so simple.
Oh yeah, I don't get like, well, one, going back, my opening thing is I just go up to a girl, I'm like, hey, I really like your whatever she's wearing, and then be like, I'm a fashion photographer. And that immediately I can just start talking about clothes. I can like, because I do genuinely love women's clothing as like an art form. I never would have thought that I would have liked it until I got into fashion, but like I can actually start talking to them about it, and that just opens up, you know, a huge branching world. And it's not coming off as like, hey, I'm trying to hit on you. It's like, hey, I really like your look, and then you can start talking from there. But like when people say it's hard to hold a conversation, it's like you literally just go to who, what, when, where, how. After every response, there's always an opening somewhere in there. Like, oh, I'm a podcaster. Oh, really? Like, how long have you been doing that? How many episodes have you done? Who's your favorite person? Like, I can just start. It's not that hard to think of like questions to add up to it. You know, I've seen people struggle with that a lot, and it's like you just have to to act interested, and hopefully you are interested. But
yeah, well, I think that a lot of people's fear, and including my own, is not that you're actually afraid of having a conversation, but that you're afraid of when the conversation will run out, or of a space in the conversation, or freezing up. Because when a conversation is going well, you're never like it's not. When I don't approach someone, it's not the fear of the conversation that pops up in my mind. It's the thought of, oh, what if I say something to them and they say something back and I don't know what to say, and I just freeze up and everyone in the bar turns at me and the music stops and then the bouncer just throws me out and he's like, get the fuck out of here, creep. You're never coming back to Belfry Bar again. And I would be so traumatized because they have great picklebacks. But
dude, fuck picklebacks. Oh my god, dude.
I fucking love picklebacks. It just goes down so we should do a pickleback podcast in the future.
No, dude. Listen, before I moved to New York, I came up here. I went out to drink with my friend, and he got me introduced to picklebacks, and I love pickle juice. And I was like, okay. But we had like 10 to 15 that night.
That's a lot. Because one shot of whiskey in every pickleback, at least.
Yeah, no, it was awful, Zach.
So you were hammered.
I threw up. And it was just like and I still love pickles, but just like that taste of pickle juice and also being drunk. When I just think about it, my stomach literally kind of like curled up a little bit.
Well, it's so dangerous because the salt of the juice just completely takes away the alcohol. As soon as you throw back that pickleback, it literally just tastes like you drank pickle juice. But you also have that shot of whiskey just brewing, seeping into your bloodstream, just hidden by the juice.
Not fun after 10 shots.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, so I was going to say having to do with the space in the conversation and being afraid of the space being over, or being afraid of not having something to say in that space, and like that whole awkward moment of, am I going to freeze up? I think podcasting has helped with that. One, because there have been some very attractive women that I've done podcasts with, that I've held conversations with for 60, 90 minutes. And so I'll go back into my head and be like, I just talked to this singer so-and-so for 90 minutes and I can't go up and say 5 words to this girl. Like, come on, like, don't be a pussy. And then the second thing is, I've done this multiple times during podcasts, but just if I don't know what I'm going to say, I pause for a second and just go, I'm gonna have to think about that one, and then just like call out the pause like verbally, and just like let them know that you're not freezing up, but like just like say something. Like if a girl says something to you and you generally don't know how to respond, like I've said that a few times in the bar, I'm just like, I'm gonna need to think about that for a few seconds. And then you're just
it's charming. I mean, and it's a way to try to gather yourself again for the next go around. Yeah, it's a smart move.
A good tactic that I would not have thought of to use in a social setting if I didn't have podcasting. I feel like it's almost a reflex now. If there's just if there's 5 seconds of dead air in a conversation, my instinct is just like, I need to think about that, or just like make some sort of observation, whatever it is, just to keep it going.
Hey, dating advice on the Aux next episode.
You want to do that one?
No, I should not be giving dating advice.
Dude, you think I should be giving dating advice? I could give Hinge advice.
There you go. I could use that, honestly.
I posted a story a couple hours before the podcast.
I saw that.
You saw Hinge started video chats.
Like,
crazy.
I think that's gonna help, honestly.
I was thinking about that because I saw on a girl's profile on Hinge, you can, if you've never used Hinge before, they give you prompts, and so it'll, for example, one of them might be like, I'm looking for ... and this girl's prompt was, I'm looking for ... someone to share a Skype drink with, or it was like someone to share a drink with on Zoom. And I was like, oh, that's like kind of a good idea, go on a Zoom date as I'm going into Hinge withdrawal, because I haven't been on a Hinge date in over 2.5 weeks, coming up on 3 weeks. So I'm kind of shaking a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little rough these days, man.
It's hard. It's hard for single people in the streets. Do you sacrifice your health and go on a quarantine and chill, or do you stay in and just chill with yourself naked?
Look, I've been chilling with myself naked for many years.
Yeah.
I need something else to spice my life up.
Yeah, I've been quarantining and chilling myself 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a while. 5 minutes a day for the past 10 years. So
I mean, hey, sometimes it's 20 minutes. You got to prolong the pleasure, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get to a couple other things too before we wrap up, but it just reminded me. I actually recorded an Aux podcast about this that I'll release soon, but just as like a self-experiment, I went 2 weeks without any type of orgasm. Like no jerking off, was beating away all the girls at my door saying, you know, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no orgasms.
I'm sure.
No orgasms for me, no orgasms for you. It's type of games I play.
I'm interested to listen to that one.
But yeah, so I was just went into some of the things that I noticed. I definitely think there's benefits to not jerking off every day or 3 to 5 times a week, as I've done since I first discovered the art when I was 12 years old, and I just hopped into it real quick. And when you're not doing it, you definitely have more energy to dedicate to more things. I don't think I'll ever be in the no FAP community where people are just like, no coming for me. I cannot do that, but I definitely see the benefit of doing it less, like putting a cap on it and just directing your sexual energy. So soon to come.
Yeah, I want to listen to that for sure.
That was not intended.
I don't know if
coming soon to a podcast near you.
I don't know if that's something I want to try, but I'll listen to your take on it and see how it goes.
Yeah, it was hard. There are a few nights where
I'm sure there's a lot of things that were hard.
That's one of the benefits is that you just get more random boners and better boners.
I don't know if I want more random boners, but I guess better
boners for sure.
Better.
So yeah, while we're on the topic of podcasts, I know you were.
We were on the topic of boners, sir.
Boners on that I was talking about for the Aux podcast. So while we're on the topic of full blood and podcasts, you have a podcast that's going to be coming to the people pretty soon. Could you fill us in about what's going to be occurring on this podcast and kind of your plan to go about it?
Yeah. So it's called Will It Rain. My roommate, his middle name is Willett. My middle name is Rain. So Will It Rain. We're both freelance creators here in New York City, and the podcast is, I guess it's a little bit about everything. Like, him and I have been best friends for a while, and so we can really riff off of each other, and I think we're pretty funny together. The few episodes that we've done, we're basically just laughing the whole time, just talking about, life and whatnot. We're also going to be having like some guests. Like, we definitely want to have you on. We're going to have Manfred. He's the #1 YouTuber in Sweden who is actually staying with us and has been staying with us the past few weeks.
Wow. Manfred.
Yeah, really, really good kid. It's crazy. He's like 20 years old, but he already works for like Coke. He was like a pop star when he was a kid. It was crazy. But just a little bit of everything. Like, I don't know if you know the Gus and Eddie podcast, but if
I've definitely heard the name Gus and Eddie before,
yeah.
but I haven't checked them out.
It's basically like that, where it's like it's two best friends just having conversations, and Will and I kind of have like differing opinions on a few things. So it's good that we kind of have like these little debates, and we like being random too. Like, sometimes we'll just ask each other, like, would you rather have like octopus arms or like goat legs? But then we break it down like very realistically, like, all right, let's consider all of the factors of what it would mean to live like this. And it's just kind of like a mixed bag.
That's
of stuff.
funny. That's like the questioning part reminds me of Answer the Internet with Barstool, where they basically just give people they just put out there, send us random questions and we'll ask celebrities, but on a more personal level for the podcast. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it's just it's a fun time. You get a wide variety of different like topics and opinions and stories and whatnot. And at the end of the day, it's just two cool people having fun together. So it's a good time.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna enjoy the podcast, and I can't wait for the first episode. I can't wait for the first weather report. Will it rain?
So that's what we do at the beginning of each podcast is we open up with like a little news report and see if it's going to rain in New York that day, and if it does, something special may happen. You'll just have to see.
Maybe some of those hat umbrellas, like those head umbrellas you guys wear, because you gotta protect the dome. If it's going to rain, you can't just be taking rainwater off the dome.
Well, my suggestion was first off to have like literally a rope in the center of us, and if it does rain, we pull the rope and a giant bucket of water comes down on us. But we also have like $10,000 worth of equipment that we don't want to fuck up.
that would be the most expensive podcast of all time, getting new equipment every episode.
Each time, yeah. So something else special is going to happen and unexpected, maybe even each time. Again, you'll just have to see what happens.
To see. All right, I'll wait. I'll play your game. I'll play the game for a little bit.
All right. And we'll have you on, man, and hopefully we'll have you on when it rains.
I would love that. The wetter, the better. That's my motto. That's my Hinge profile. I'm looking for ...
Damn, I'm actually gonna steal that one. Hold on.
The wetter, the wetter, the better, dude.
That'll attract the type of women I want in a relationship for sure.
It's a great way to live life. I don't discriminate.
Oh God. My mom's gonna listen to this and be just shaking her head the whole time.
Hello, Mrs. Raine.
Martin, actually.
Mrs. Martin, I apologize. I just want to let you know that even though your son may sound like an absolute sick fuck, and he's talking to an even sicker fuck, that he's one of the best people and hardest workers that I've run into in the city of New York.
Aww.
And I can tell you that the wetter the better is true, because
oh my God. All right, can we just stop it there?
So, okay.
I've already brought enough shame upon her.
Okay, so going back to you and Will, what I thought would be good to end on is your current fitness and change in diet journey, your health and fitness journey. So in the past few months, what has been the change in your health and diet plan, and what was the reason why you decided to make that shift for you and Will to do together?
Yes. So on December 14th, Will and I started doing keto.
Who's keto?
Yeah. Keto is this crazy dude from Afghanistan.
Huge Russian dude with a hairy back.
Yeah. Anyway, so we started doing the keto diet. How about that? Basically because we looked at each other and we were like, oh, we're fat fucks again. We used to live together back in college, and I was 260 pounds back when I was in college, heaviest I ever was, and Will used to be a competitive weightlifter, and he also got overweight, and we just looked at each other one day and we were just like, we need to change this. And what better way to go through change than with your best friend who can suffer with you. And so we worked out together back in college, but we moved away and we stopped, and I went from 260 to 225 when Will and I were working out back in college, and then once we left I started gaining weight. I got back up to like 240-ish. Then we moved together here in New York. We got fat again, and we were like, all right, we need to switch it up this time. Last time we worked out every single day. We worked really hard, but we just didn't have a healthy diet. This time we're going to work out really hard and have a diet that is going to make us lose weight. I wouldn't say keto isn't necessarily healthy for everybody, but it was an option we wanted to try. So now, what are we, 3-4 months later, I went from 225. I'm now slightly below 190. And
yeah.
dude, it feels so good.
I remember when you told me you got sub 200.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
I literally never thought I would be below 200 again in my life. And so to not only go below 200, but then my goal was 290, and now to go below 290, now my goal is like 180. And I'm just going to find, once I get down to a healthy weight and healthy body physique for myself, I'm going to slowly kind of wean myself off keto and still keep a very low carb diet. It's something I think I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is just having a very low carb diet, because it works really well for me. Some people have the keto flu or feel just like very tired and weak their first like few weeks, and I never experienced that at all.
Is the keto flu just like what happens when you start doing keto? Like you just feel like shit?
Yeah, because what's happening is, your body is relying on carbs for energy in a typical normal state, and you're now depleting all of the carbs in your body, so your body has to now eat fat. Okay. And it's essentially, it is your body just eating yourself, and you're also kind of adjusting your digestive system a little bit, and just like the biome in your stomach of microorganisms. And so your body's going through these changes over a few weeks. And so some people get really sick, literally basically the flu.
Same like they
symptoms.
get aches and pains and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so we were weary about that going into it, but it never happened for either of us. And so I think it's just a really healthy lifestyle, at least for me personally, because I've been losing weight. I feel healthy. Something that we definitely want to do is get like some blood work done and make sure that we're like actually healthy, and from a health standpoint and not just a physical standpoint. But yeah, man, it's honestly been incredible. Like my confidence has in myself as a person has gone up so high, not only as myself of how I look, but also it's absolutely affected my business and how I interact with people on a day-to-day. And it just feels good. Like to be quite honest, this is the first time really in my life that I feel like I look good. And that's such a cool feeling to have.
Well, I always felt like you looked great, but I'm glad that you feel that too now.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And yeah, man, you've definitely inspired me, and since you guys are catching it on video too, you're definitely inspiring a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, and that's cool to watch as well. Will is posting it on his YouTube channel each month. And it's so cool to get messages from complete strangers just saying, hey, like, you've helped me a lot. I'm starting to follow your guys' workout routine, and I'm starting to now see myself losing weight, and I'm feeling better. And it's just so cool to see that continue to grow. Like, we still get messages from people like, hey, are you still keeping it up? Or, hey, like, I ran 5 miles today. I've never done that in my life, and I would have never done it if it wasn't for you guys. And that's such a cool feeling to have, that not only are we bettering ourselves, but we're encouraging others to better themselves as well.
Yeah, there have been a couple times where I've seen you post something, or I saw on your story, whether you're either working out or you. I think the first time was you were on a bike doing a remote job somewhere. And I was thinking about not working out that day, and then I saw you just getting after it on that bike, and I'm like, fuck, I can't not work out now. Because I know he,
dude,
I know he's working out, and I can't let him be the only one that's in shape on the podcast. So I got to keep my podcast body in shape from the nipples up, because that's
nipples
all
up for sure.
Dude, my traps and chest and shoulders.
Your shoulders are looking good.
I'm gonna make a podcaster's workout for just traps, chest, shoulders, and neck. I want to have the thickest neck of any podcaster.
Hell yeah, I love that.
And then just a beer gut from the waist down. As soon as I get up, it just flops out onto the table.
I mean, you could very well be wearing a crop top, and we just don't know.
Yeah, or two. I like to layer them.
I like that. But no, I'm very happy that gotten to inspire you in some way, or even if it was literally just that one time, like that just feels so good to hear that.
Yeah, man, it's been a couple times. I can't remember what the other post was, but there definitely been 2 times where I saw you working out, and I was kind of teetering on the border of thinking, should I work out today? Should I not work out today? And then I saw you, and I said, fuck it, I can't not work out now. I gotta work out, just get after it. So yeah, man,
Hell
you
yeah,
definitely
man.
inspired me. I've met Will in person now a couple times, and he seems like a great guy too. So I'm glad you guys are doing it together.
Yeah, I mean, I am too. Will and I essentially do everything together now. I mean, we're both in the creative fields. We both do video and photo, and even, you know, working out now. And I just don't think that either of us would have gotten this far or been this successful at it if it wasn't for the other person. Because we're really good at keeping each other accountable, which is something I really appreciate in our relationship. Like, you know, he'll see me if I'm like walking on the treadmill. He'll be like, yo, he'll text me like, yo, you've been walking on the treadmill for 5 minutes. When are you going to start running, you little bitch? And I'll be like, fuck, he's right. And so, you know, we'll keep up after each other like that to make sure that we're always progressing and moving forward. And that's just such an awesome thing to have in like a best friend, and also as like a roommate.
Yeah, it's good to have the partnership as accountability, because if you tell someone that you're gonna do something and then you don't do it, then you feel like a piece of shit. Like if I planned in my head that I was gonna go work out, or maybe I even wrote it down, and then I didn't go work out, then I'm the only one that's being affected by that. And yeah, I feel like shit. And usually that's enough motivation for me not to skip the gym. But then if you tell your friend, hey, we're gonna do this together, this diet, or we're gonna meet up at this time and go lift or run or do whatever, and then you skip that, then you're fucking yourself over and the partner. So it's like that extra level of accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, all it takes is just going to the gym a few times a week and building that routine. Because once you build that into your like daily routine, you're gonna hate yourself for not going. Like you'll miss a day, even if it's a rest day. You'll miss a day and be like, oh man, your body wants to go to the gym again. And it takes a while to get there. But you know, I never thought I would say this, but I enjoy going to the gym now. Sadly, I can't go anymore because of the virus. But
I've been trying to do some body weight workout stuff. I got to send you. There's a couple guys that I follow that post some really good body weight workouts. I'll have to send you some stuff, and they use a lot of stuff that you can just find in your apartment, which I like.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw, I just worked with this guy, Steve. His handle's Brooklyn Tank 718.
Yes, I did see that post. He's fucking massive.
All of that's through body weights.
Really?
Yeah, man. I mean, he looks like The Rock. Like, he's massive. Or like Vin Diesel, but
he does. I'm gonna have to do a piss test, but that's that's impressive though. Even if you are on just God's gift of drug cocktail, to have that physique with just body weight workouts is insane. And I've never met the guy, so I have no idea. But don't kill me.
I mean, he's definitely it's impressive, man. And if you go on his Instagram, he posts like workouts almost every day of stuff you can do at home. So
Gotcha.
You know, while you're home, I mean, literally everybody listening to this, you don't have an excuse to not work out for like 15 minutes a day, if not 30 minutes, if not an hour at home. You know?
Oh yeah, just set the clock. That's what I've been doing. I've been putting 20, 30 minutes on the clock, and I'll give myself 3 exercises. The other day I did pull-ups, bodyweight squats, and push-ups, and just went in a circuit until 30 minutes was up. And it's like, I kind of like that in some ways more than the gym, when I'm usually working in more sets and reps, because I know that it's going to be done 30 minutes from now. Like mentally that helps me, where sometimes you walk into the gym and you're like, oh, this workout could drag on for an hour and a half, like trying to get out of here in 45 minutes. As soon as I press start, I know that 30 minutes from now, however tired I am, I'm going to be done.
What's weird to me is I'm the complete opposite. I don't want time, because if I start looking at the time, I start like perceiving time slower. Like, I don't know if that even makes sense.
No,
but
that does. That's
like,
why I try to hide the timer, or
yeah.
I'll turn my phone upside down. And I'll put on a podcast or some music, and I'll force myself not to check it that much. Like I'll tell myself I'm not gonna check it until I do 10 rounds, and then go see what it's at. And usually it's over 15 minutes at that point. So I'm like, okay, I'm over halfway there. So mentally, that helps me.
Yeah, man. I don't understand how like doing a sprint for a minute feels like 15 minutes at home watching TV or something.
Oh my
like,
god, dude, you can't. I don't think there's any way you could sprint at maximum capacity for a minute.
Well, not maximum capacity, I guess, but a brisk jog,
Yeah.
I guess.
Like the
Like 8
the
miles
intervals
an
on a
hour.
treadmill, like those type of workouts where you sprint for a minute, walk for a minute.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it makes me sweat, man. And I normally don't sweat during a workout, but like, I'll walk for 2 minutes, and then now I walk for 1 minute and a half, and then I run at 8 miles an hour for a minute and a half, and just back and forth, back and forth. But
That's good.
yeah,
You could probably even do that
it's-
outside if you want to. Go to like
Well,
Prospect Park or something.
I hate working out outside or running outside. I'm not exactly sure why, but partially I think it's because if I'm on a treadmill, I know exactly how fast I'm going, and I can make sure that I'm running this certain speed for this certain amount of time. But if I'm outside, it feels like it takes longer to get to how far I want to go, and it also I don't know. I don't feel like I'm as efficient.
Oh
But
yeah,
that's
and you
just
can
me.
trick yourself into thinking that you're running faster than you actually are. Like I
Yeah.
could be doing a soccer jog outside and be like, yeah, I'm probably running like a 7-minute mile right now. And if I actually was on a treadmill, it would be more like a 9-minute, 9:30 mile. But in my
Yeah.
head, like, who knows, you know? If I'm not tracking it on an app or anything, I run 30 minutes. That's 5 miles right there.
Are you running outside now because with Corona or?
No, I actually don't even do cardio. Like, I don't run. I do the rowing machine sometimes, like the erg. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
I haven't done that. Yeah, I know what
Um,
you're talking about.
But in terms of cardio, like I don't do any steady state cardio, like jogging or running or swimming or anything like that. I should get back into it at least a few times a week just to get just to build my aerobic capacity. But I usually do more circuit style workouts where my heart rate is up. Like I feel like I get my cardio within the weightlifting, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
just going lower rest periods and lower weight, but I'm just kind of rapidly moving through the exercise.
Nice, man.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a pleasant and an exciting conversation. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this too. Sadly, I can't see your beautiful face in person, but I can see it clear enough through the screen here.
Yeah, that's because there's this huge big black thing in front of my face.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it normally goes, right?
Yeah, every time I do a podcast, there's always just this huge big black head just staring me right in the face.
But no, man, I'm glad we got to do this podcast too, and I wish we could film more episodes in person, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen for a while.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I think it sucks to say, but I think things are going to get a little bit worse before it gets better health-wise.
I agree.
And then hopefully by the summer, things start to open up a little bit. People can go outside and start interacting a little bit more.
Man, you know there's going to be some wild-ass parties at the end of this.
Dude, oh my God. I honestly wasn't even thinking about that, but like,
dude, New York's clubs and shit.
The first weekend where clubs open up again, like the first post-quarantine weekend, is gonna fucking pop off.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, and I'll finally be able to have my birthday party.
I was gonna say I'm sad.
September.
I was gonna say I'm sad that we can't celebrate on the 28th. It was supposed to be, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm bummed about it too. I mean, obviously, the responsible thing is not to have the party, but I actually had a lot of friends from Virginia that were all able to come up on that one weekend, and then that's probably not going to happen when we reschedule the party. But I know I'm going to see them at some point in the near future.
Well, we're definitely gonna share some drinks on Zoom.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I'm about it. Let's do it.
I'll play some music, do some dance moves, whatever.
Play some
It's your birthday, so you just tell me what you want me to do.
dude, smooth jazz. I need whitey tighties and a pair of sunglasses.
Okay, I have the whitey tighties.
Hell yeah.
I have sunglasses. I also have the blue light ones too, just in case it's nighttime. I don't want to, stay up with the screen time, so I can have the blue lights on too while I'm stripping. So we got options.
All right, that's what I like to hear, man. I appreciate you always keeping those options open for me.
All right, well I'll see you on Saturday then.
Yeah, see you on Saturday.